What kind of monster would steal a child's inheritance just because of his skin color? In the tense family meeting at the Beverly Hills mansion, Elena Vargas, the billionaire's iron-fisted mother, leaned forward and hissed in Spanish to the lawyer. Change the will now. Cut out that boy. His mother's blood taints everything. No one here understands, so make it quick. The room full of heirs and staff froze, but Rosa Martinez, the black maid serving tea, stepped in boldly, replying in flawless Spanish, "You're wrong, senora. That's not a taint. It's discrimination, and I'll make sure everyone hears it." Elena's face twisted in rage. She spun around and slapped Rosa hard across the face. "How dare you eavesdrop and speak to me like that? Get out, you worthless maid! You're fired! Leave now without your things!" Rosa stood tall, wiping her cheek, her voice steady. "You'll regret this silence you just created." The room fell deathly quiet, eyes wide in shock. But as Rosa walked out with dignity, the seeds of truth had been planted. Watch to see how one voice shatters a family's lies and rebuilds justice from the ashes. Hit like and subscribe for more stories of hidden heroes rising up. Elena Vargas gripped the edge of the polished oak table, her knuckles whitening as she leaned toward the family lawyer, her voice dropping to a venomous whisper in Spanish. "Cambia el testamento ahora mismo. Elimina a ese niño. La sangre de su madre lo contamina todo. Nadie aquí entiende, así que hazlo rápido." Her eyes darted around the room, scanning the heirs, her billionaire son, his wife, a few distant cousins, all oblivious to the words slicing through the air like a hidden blade. The grandson in question, little Marco, fidgeted in his chair, his dark curls bouncing as he tugged at his shirt, unaware of the storm brewing over his future. Elena's lips curled in satisfaction. This was her domain, her fortune to guard, and she'd ensure no taint diluted the Vargas legacy. The lawyer nodded subtly, scribbling notes, his pen scratching like a conspirator's code. But Rosa Martinez, balancing a silver tray of steaming teacups, paused mid-step. Her heart pounded, the steam rising like her suppressed rage. She'd heard every word, every twisted justification rooted in the racism Elena hid behind her cultured facade. Rosa's mind raced. How dare she? That boy is innocent, his mother's strength a gift, not a curse. She set the tray down with a soft clink, her uniform crisp but her posture unyielding, a silent sentinel in a room of privilege. Elena's gaze snapped to Rosa, irritation flashing. "What are you staring at? Serve the tea and get out." The command hung heavy, laced with dismissal, as if Rosa were furniture to be moved. The billionaire's son, Javier, shifted uncomfortably, but said nothing, his eyes on his phone, avoiding the tension. His wife murmured something placating, but Elena waved her off. "This is a family business. The help doesn't belong." Rosa's breath steadied. "I've swallowed this poison for years," she thought, cleaning their messes, hearing their secrets. But this? Stripping a child of his birthright because of skin color? It burned too deep. She straightened, her voice cutting through in perfect Spanish. "Señora, eso no es contaminación. Es discriminación pura, y no permitiré que pase desapercibido." The room froze. Elena's face drained of color, her eyes widening like she'd seen a ghost rise from the shadows. You speak Spanish?" she stammered, switching to English, her accent thickening with shock. The lawyer's pen halted, mid-stroke. Javier looked up sharply, his phone forgotten. "What did she say?" he demanded, confusion rippling across the airs. Rosa met Elena's stare, unflinching. "I said you're cutting him out because of his mother's black blood. That's not protection, it's hatred. And everyone here deserves to know." Elena's shock twisted into fury, her chair scraping back as she stood. "How dare you eavesdrop on private matters? You're nothing but a maid." She advanced, her heels clicking like accusations. The grandson, Marco, whimpered, sensing the storm. Rosa's mind flashed. "Stand firm. For him. For all the times they've looked through me." "You think you can judge me?" Elena snarled, her hand whipping out in a sharp arc. The slap landed with a crack, echoing off the walls, Rosa's cheek stinging hot. Blood rushed to the spot, but Rosa didn't flinch, her eyes locking on Elena's. "This is what they do. Silence the truth with force." "Get out!" Elena roared, pointing to the door. "You're fired. Leave now without your filthy things. Security! The lawyer averted his eyes, shuffling papers. Javier half rose. Mother, wait! But Elena cut him off. No, she has no place here. Rosa wiped the blood from her lip with the back of her hand, tasting copper. They see a maid, not a woman who's survived worse. She turned slowly, her voice calm amid the chaos. You'll regret this, Senora. Silence doesn't erase the truth. It amplifies it. As she walked out, head high, the door slamming behind her, the room's air thickened with unspoken regret. Elena sank back into her chair, her hand trembling slightly, the slap's echo lingering like a bad omen. But in that moment, the seeds of unraveling had been sown. Elena's mind whirled. Who is she? How much does she know? The lawyer cleared his throat. Shall we continue? Elena nodded curtly, but her confidence cracked, the meeting resuming in strained whispers. Javier glanced at the door, a flicker of doubt crossing his face. That was harsh, Mother. Outside, Rosa leaned against the hallway wall, her cheek throbbing. They think they've won, she thought, but I've just begun. She straightened her uniform one last time, stepping into the evening light, her resolve hardening like steel. The family meeting dragged on, but the energy had shifted. Elena's commands felt hollow now, her Spanish no longer a shield. She barked at the lawyer. Finish it. Make sure the boy gets nothing. But her voice wavered, the slap replaying in her mind. What if she tells someone? The heirs murmured uneasy. Marco climbed into his aunt's lap, whispering, Where's Rosa? She promised a story. Elena's irritation flared. Forget her. She's gone. But deep down, a gnawing doubt took root. What secrets did that woman carry away? Hours later, alone in her study, Elena paced. The slap had felt righteous in the moment, but now, her reflection in the mirror showed a woman unraveling. I built this empire, she thought. I won't let some maid tear it down. She poured a glass of wine, but it tasted bitter. The lawyer's draft lay on the desk, the changes stark in black ink. It's done, he'd said before leaving. But as Elena sat, a crumpled note fell from the tea tray Rosa had left. A simple reminder in Spanish. Para Marco. Recuerda, la familia es más que sangre. For Marco. Remember, family is more than blood. Elena's hand shook. She knew. All along. The night deepened, but sleep evaded her. Who was she really? Elena's mind raced back to Mexico City, old memories stirring like ghosts. The slap, meant to silence, had only awakened something dangerous. In the quiet mansion, the imbalance of power hung heavy, waiting to tip. Elena stared at the note, her empire feeling suddenly fragile. This isn't over. Rosa's hand steadied the tea tray, the porcelain cups clinking faintly as she set it down on the side table. Her cheeks still burned from the anticipation of confrontation, but her eyes locked on Elena with unyielding calm. The room's air thickened, every air shifting in their seats, whispers dying as they sensed the shift. Elena's face contorted, her elegant features twisting into a mask of outrage. She thinks I'm invisible, Rosa thought, but I've been listening for years. Her pulse raced, not from fear, but from the fire igniting within, memories of her own daughter's struggles, of doors slammed shut because of skin like hers. What did you just say? Elena spat, her voice rising in English now, hands gripping the table edge like claws. The lawyer froze, his notepad slipping slightly. Javier, the billionaire's son, leaned forward, brow furrowed. Mother, what's going on? Why is the maid speaking Spanish? Rosa didn't blink. She stepped closer, her uniform a stark contrast to the designer suits around her, her voice steady and resonant in flawless Spanish. Está eliminado al niño solo porque la madre es negra. Eso no es protección de la herencia. Es puro racismo, y lo diré en voz alta para que todos lo oigan. Elena's eyes bulged, her breath catching as if slapped by her own words thrown back. How? Elena's mind reeled. A maid, speaking like that? She must be bluffing, but the precision in Rosa's accent, Mexico City inflection, laced with educated poise, hit like a revelation. The room erupted in murmurs. Javier stood halfway. Translate that. What did she mean? His wife clutched Marco's hand, the boy wide-eyed, tugging at her sleeve. Abuela, Why is Rosa mad? Elena waved them silent, her composure cracking, cheeks flushing red. This is absurd. She's lying, eavesdropping like some thief. Rosa shook her head, switching to English for the others, her tone measured but firm. No lies, senor. I heard every word. Cut that boy. His mother's blood taints everything. That's what you said in Spanish, thinking no one would understand. But I do. And now they do too. She pointed at Marco, her voice softening for a beat. He's your blood, innocent. You're stealing his future because of prejudice. Elena's fist clenched, her rings digging into her palms. Insolent woman, she seethed inwardly. How dare she expose me in my own home? She advanced a step, voice hissing. You have no right. You're the help. Clean and serve, that's all. The lawyer coughed awkwardly, eyes on the floor. Javier demanded, Is this true, mother? About Marco? Rosa didn't back down, her stance widening slightly, like a teacher commanding a classroom. They see a maid, she thought. But I'm more. A survivor, a knower of secrets. Ask her yourself, Rosa said, gaze piercing Elena. Ask why she hides behind language to manipulate. I've served this family for 5 years. Wiped tears, heard whispers. But this? Robbing a child? It's wrong. Elena's control snapped. She lunged forward, her hand flying out again. But this time Rosa dodged subtly, the air whistling past. Security! Elena bellowed, her voice echoing. But no one moved immediately. The heirs exchanged glances, doubt creeping in. Javier stepped between them. Enough! Rosa, explain yourself. Rosa's chest heaved, but her words came clear. I speak Spanish because I was born in Honduras, raised in Mexico City. I taught it at a community college before. Life changed. She omitted the pain, the discrimination that cost her job, the sick daughter needing care. Not now, she thought. Focus on the boy. But that's not the point. The point is her plan, to alter the will, disinherit Marco because his mother was black. It's illegal, immoral. Elena laughed bitterly, masking her panic. She knows too much, her mind screamed. End this now. Lies, all lies from a disgruntled employee. Get her out. She grabbed a phone, dialing security, her fingers trembling. The door burst open, 2 guards entering. Rosa raised her hands peacefully. Fine, but remember, Senora, the truth doesn't leave with me. As the guards escorted her, she glanced at Marco, offering a small smile. Be strong, mijo. The boy waved timidly, tears welling. Elena slammed the door shut behind them, her breath ragged. Gone. Good. But her hands shook, the room's silence deafening. Javier crossed his arms. Mother, if any of that's true. Elena cut him off. It's not. Continue the meeting. But her voice lacked conviction, eyes darting to the tea tray, paranoia rising. What else does she know? Old secrets? Outside, Rosa walked down the driveway, guards flanking her. Her mind buzzed. I spoke up. Finally, no tears, just resolve. The mansion loomed behind, its lights mocking. But in her pocket, a crumpled photo of her with Elena from decades ago. In Mexico City, proof waiting to surface. Back inside, Elena paced the room, ignoring the lawyer's questions. A maid from Mexico City. Flashes of youth hit her, shared classes, whispered confidences. Could it be her? Rosa? Martinez? Dread coiled in her gut. The slap earlier felt like a mistake now, a spark to a fire she couldn't control. Javier picked up the abandoned notepad, reading the changes. This does cut Marco out. Why? Elena snatched it away. Family reasons. But her facade cracked, sweat beading on her forehead. The heirs whispered, seeds of dissent growing. Rosa reached the gate, turning once. They'll call me back, she thought, or regret they didn't. The guards left her there, alone but unbroken. In the distance, the mansion's glow faded, but the fight had just begun. Elena's study light stayed on late. She rifled through old boxes, pulling out faded photos. There, young Elena with a classmate named Rosa. It's her. Panic surged. What if she reveals the child I hid? The empire she'd built trembled on lies. The night wore on. tension simmering. Rosa, in a cab home, clutched her phone. For Marco, she vowed, and for all of us silenced. Elena's hand flew through the air like a whip, connecting with Rosa's cheek in a resounding crack that silenced the room. The impact jerked Rosa's head sideways, a sharp sting blooming across her skin, warm blood trickling from a split lip. That hurt, Rosa thought, but she didn't cry out. Years of enduring slights had forged her resolve into armor. She tasted salt and iron, her vision blurring for a split second, but she straightened immediately, eyes locking back on Elena with defiant fire. The heirs gasped collectively. Javier lurched forward. "Mother, stop!" But Elena shoved him back, her chest heaving. "You insolent bitch!" Elena roared in English, her face a contorted mask of fury, veins bulging on her neck. "How dare a maid like you challenge me? In my house? Get out, now! Fired! Leave without your rags or I'll have you arrested for trespassing." She pointed at the door, finger trembling with rage, her rings glinting like weapons. The lawyer shrank in his chair, papers crumpling in his grip. Marco burst into tears, burying his face in his aunt's dress. "Abuela, no! Rosa didn't do anything." Rosa wiped the blood with her sleeve, her hand steady despite the throb. This is their way. Violence to mask fear, she thought, glancing at the boy. But I won't break for her. "You'll regret this, Senora," Rosa said softly, her voice cutting through the chaos like a blade. "Not just the slap, but the secret you're hiding, the one from Mexico City, the child you buried in shame." Elena's eyes widened, a flicker of terror crossing her features. How does she know? Elena's mind screamed, old ghost rising. Impossible. She's bluffing. The guards, summoned earlier, grabbed Rosa's arms roughly. She didn't resist, but her gaze never left Elena. "Let go," she murmured to them in Spanish. "I'm leaving with dignity." Javier stepped in, conflicted. "Wait, Rosa, what secret?" But Elena snarled, "Ignore her lies! Out!" The guards dragged her toward the door, her feet scraping the marble floor. Rosa's mind raced. They think they've won, but I've planted the doubt. For Marco. As the door slammed shut behind her, the room plunged into heavy silence. Elena rubbed her stinging palm, regret nibbling at the edges of her anger. I shouldn't have hit her, she thought, but pride swallowed it down. "Continue," she barked at the lawyer, sinking into her chair. But the air felt charged, the heirs exchanging uneasy glances. Javier paced. That was uncalled for. And what did she mean by secret? Elena waved him off. Delusions. Focus on the will. Outside, Rosa shrugged off the guards at the gate, her cheek swelling now. Breathe, she told herself, touching the tender spot. You've faced worse, losing your teaching job, watching your daughter suffer. She walked down the driveway, the mansion's shadow lengthening behind her. In her mind, flashes of the past. Young Elena in class, confiding about a forbidden pregnancy, swearing Rosa to secrecy. She forgot me, Rosa thought, but I remember everything. Back inside, Elena's hands shook as she poured water, spilling some. A maid knowing my past? Panic clawed at her. She snatched the lawyer's draft, scanning the changes. Make it ironclad, no loopholes. But her voice wavered. The grandson's sobs filled the void. I want Rosa back, Marco whimpered. Elena's heart twisted unexpectedly. Guilt? No, she pushed it away. She's gone. It's done. Javier pulled out his phone. I'm calling security to check on her. Elena grabbed his arm. Don't. Let her go. But doubt gnawed. The slap replayed, her handprint a mark of her own unraveling. The meeting resumed in fragments, words hollow. Cousins whispered, Did you see that? Brutal. Elena glared at them silent, but inside turmoil brewed. What if she talks? The media, the family scandals. Rosa reached the street, hailing a cab. Her phone buzzed. A text from the housekeeper. You okay? That was brave. She replied, I'm fine, but it's not over. Sitting in the back seat, she pressed ice from a borrowed pack to her face, wincing. They see weakness, she thought, but this bruise is my badge. Plans formed. Contact a lawyer friend. Gather proof of Elena's old secrets. For the boy. For justice. In the mansion, Elena excused herself to her study, locking the door. She stared at her reflection, the woman in the mirror looking haunted. I built this life on control, she thought, and one slap might shatter it. She rifled through drawers, pulling an old envelope. Letters from Mexico City, faded ink. One name jumped out. Rosa Martinez. It is her. Horror settled in. What have I done? The airs dispersed, Javier lingering. Mother, that was wrong. Rosa's been like family. Elena snapped. She's not. End of discussion. But alone she crumpled the letter, tears threatening. Regret already? No, push it down. Yet the silence mocked her, Rosa's words lingering like smoke. Rosa arrived home, her small apartment a stark contrast to the mansion. Her daughter greeted her, eyes widening at the bruise. Mom, what happened? Rosa hugged her. Stood up for what's right. Inside, resolve hardened. They'll come crawling back, she thought, and when they do, I'll set the terms. Elena's night stretched long, pacing her lavish room. The slaps echo faded, but the fear didn't. She's out there, knowing too much. She dialed a private investigator quietly. Find everything on Rosa Martinez, now. But deep down, a voice whispered, you started this. Now face the fallout. The divide widened. Power versus truth, silence versus voice. Rosa slept fitfully, dreaming of confrontation. Elena tossed, the mansion feeling empty. The storm had broken. Repercussions loomed. The door's slam echoed through the mansion like a final judgment, leaving the family meeting room in suffocating silence. Elena Vargas stood rigid, her hands still tingling from the slap, breath coming in sharp bursts as she stared at the empty doorway. Gone, she thought, good riddance. But the quiet pressed in, heavy and accusing, broken only by Marco's sudden sobs. The boy slid from his chair, tears streaming down his cheeks, clutching at Javier's leg. Why did you hit Rosa? Bring her back. His small voice cracked, piercing the air like a dagger. Elena's stomach twisted. Guilt? No, she shoved it down. He's just a child. He'll forget. The lawyer cleared his throat awkwardly, stacking his papers with fumbling hands, his glasses slipping down his nose. Perhaps we should postpone? He glanced at the draft will, the incriminating changes glaring back. Javier knelt beside Marco, pulling him close, his face etched with confusion and anger. Mother, that was too far. Rosa's been with us for years. She's practically raised him when we couldn't. Elena whirled on him, eyes flashing. She's a maid, Javier, not family. Now sit down and let's finish this. But the room refused to cooperate. Marco's cries escalated into wails, echoing off the walls, filling the void Rosa had left. The aunt tried to hush him, rocking him gently, but he pushed away. Rosa tells stories. She makes it better. Elena paced, her heels clicking irritably. Ungrateful brat, she seethed inwardly. All because of that woman. The cousins shifted uncomfortably, one murmuring, that slap, uncalled for. Elena shot them a glare. Mind your tongues, this is my house. Javier stood, wiping Marco's tears with his sleeve. Look what you've done. He's hysterical now. He scooped the boy up, but Marco thrashed. I want Rosa. The lawyer packed his briefcase hastily. I'll email the revisions. Call if needed. He slipped out, leaving the family fractured. Elena sank into her chair, rubbing her temples, a headache blooming. Why does it feel wrong, she wondered, pushing the thought away. She deserved it, prying, accusing. The silence deepened as Javier carried Marco out, the boy's sobs fading down the hall. Elena was left alone with the remnants, scattered teacups, the draft will, and an unsettling emptiness. She handled him so well, a traitorous voice whispered in her mind. Quiet, stories, patience. Elena slammed her fist on the table, rattling the cups. No, she's gone. Good. But her voice echoed hollowly, doubt creeping in like shadows. Hours ticked by. Elena wandered the halls, the mansion feeling larger, colder without Rosa's quiet presence. No soft footsteps polishing floors, no hummed lullabies from the nursery. She paused at Marco's room, hearing his muffled cries through the door. Javier's wife cooked comforts, but it wasn't working. Elena's chest tightened. This is her fault, she told herself, stirring trouble. Yet regret nipped at her heels, the slap replaying. Rosa's unflinching eyes, that parting warning. Regret? For a maid? Absurd. Downstairs, the staff whispered in the kitchen, their eyes darting away when Elena entered. The housekeeper busied herself with dishes. Ma'am, Elena snapped. What? The woman hesitated. Rosa, she left this. She handed over a small bag, Rosa's forgotten belongings from the staff room. Elena snatched it, dismissing her with a wave. Alone again, she dumped the contents on the counter. A worn wallet, keys, a faded photo. Her fingers paused on the photo. Young women in Mexico City, laughing. One was a teenage Elena, the other, Rosa. No, Elena's mind reeled. It can't be. She flipped it over, scrawled in old ink. Amigas para siempre, Elena y Rosa, 1975. Friends forever. Elena's knees buckled. She gripped the counter, breath shallow. Her, from school. The one who knew. Everything. Flashes hit. Shared secrets, that forbidden night. The child given up. She promised silence. But now, panic surged. Elena stuffed the photo back, heart pounding. I hit her, fired her. What if she talks? Upstairs, Marco's cries had subsided into whimpers. Javier knocked on Elena's door later. He's asking for her stories. What did she mean by secret? Elena forced a smile. Nothing. Go to bed. But alone, she stared at the bag, dread coiling. I created this void, she admitted inwardly, and it's swallowing us. The night wore on, the mansion's silence a tomb. Elena sat in the dim light, fingering the photo, her empire of control cracking. What have I unleashed? Marco's distant sniffle echoed, a reminder of the gap Rosa filled. Regret bloomed fully now, bitter and unrelenting. I need to fix this. But how? In the staff quarters, empty now, a single light flickered off. The housekeeper shook her head. Poor Rosa. But Elena in her study couldn't shake the emptiness. The crash had begun, power crumbling under its own weight. Elena paced the empty meeting room, her steps sharp and uneven, the echo mocking her frayed nerves. The draft lay abandoned on the table, ink still fresh, but her mind fixated on the bag, the one the housekeeper had thrust at her. Just junk, she told herself, snatching it up and dumping the contents with a clatter, keys jingling, a crumpled receipt, an old leather wallet worn at the edges. Her fingers brushed something papery, tucked deep inside. She pulled it out, a faded envelope, yellowed with age, sealed but brittle. Elena's breath hitched. What's this? Spying on her things now? But curiosity won. She tore it open, letters spilling like confessions. The first was a handwritten note, dated 1976 in familiar script. Elena's eyes scanned. Querida Rosa, the baby is safe, but I can't keep him. Promise you'll never tell. Your friend, Elena. Her hand flew to her mouth, stifling a gasp. No, not this. Memories flooded. Mexico City nights, a forbidden affair. The child surrendered in secrecy to protect her family's name. She'd buried it deep, but here it was exhumed. The envelope held more. A photo of the infant, tiny and wrapped in blue, and a recent printout, adoption records tracing the boy to a man now living in California. She kept it all these years? Elena's knees weakened. She slumped against the wall, the papers trembling in her grip. Why did she have this? Blackmail? Elena's mind spun, paranoia twisting like vines. She rubbed her temples hard, the pressure building behind her eyes, a migraine pulsing. I slapped her, fired her, and she knew my darkest shame. Her reflection caught in a nearby mirror, the ornate frame mocking her. She stared, seeing not the powerful matriarch, but a woman unraveling, lines etched deeper, eyes hollow with self-loathing. You fool, she thought, hiding behind slaps and secrets. Now what? If she talks, the family crumbles. She turned away, disgusted, her fist clenching the letters until they crinkled. Down the hall, Marco's whimpers carried faintly, a relentless reminder. Elena shoved the papers back into the envelope, stuffing it into her pocket like a burning coal. Hide it, deny it. But the weight pulled at her, guilt seeping in. She wandered to her private study, slamming the door, sinking into the leather chair. Alone, she buried her face in her hands, fingers digging into her scalp. That woman, Rosa from school, the quiet one who listened to my tears. I trusted her once. Regret clawed sharper now, the slap's memory stinging her palm as much as Rosa's cheek. I reacted like a cornered animal. Pathetic. The clock ticked mercilessly. Elena stood abruptly, crossing to the mirror again, forcing herself to look. Her makeup smeared slightly from earlier tension, lips pursed in contempt. Look at you, old, scared. She leaned in, breath fogging the glass. You built this empire on strength, she whispered to her reflection, but the words rang false. Doubt flooded. What if Javier finds out? The scandals, the lawsuits. She paced anew, the envelope crinkling with each step, a constant accusation. A knock. Javier. Mother? Marco won't sleep without a story. He's asking for Rosa again. Elena's voice cracked as she replied, Tell him to grow up. But inside, turmoil raged. She calmed him effortlessly, and I drove her away. She sat again, pulling the photo out, tracing the infant's face. My son, hidden, forgotten, and she kept the proof. Tears pricked, unbidden. She dashed them away, anger surging. No weakness. Fix this quietly. The housekeeper peeked in later, tray in hand. Tea, ma'am? Elena waved her off sharply. Leave me. But as the door closed, loneliness pressed heavier. The house feels wrong without her routines. Elena's fingers drummed the desk, mind racing to plans. Hire a detective, silence her somehow. But guilt undermined it all. You slapped an old friend. What kind of monster are you? Night deepened. Elena didn't eat, didn't sleep, just sat rubbing her temples, the headache a pounding drum. The mirror loomed, her reflection a judge. Hate yourself later, survive now. Yet the letters burned in her pocket. Rosa's knowledge a ticking bomb. She left this on purpose? A warning? Paranoia peaked. She shredded a corner of the envelope, but stopped. Evidence, perhaps needed. Marco's cries echoed once more from afar, pulling at her unexpectedly. Damn her for making him depend on her. Elena stood, gazing out the window at the dark estate. Regret solidified, a stone in her gut. I need to know more. Find her, before she destroys us. But deep down a whisper. Before you destroy yourself. In the quiet study, Elena finally broke, slumping over the desk, forehead pressed to wood. What have I done? The crash intensified, her world tilting on revelations unearthed from a simple bag. Elena gripped the steering wheel of her sleek Mercedes, knuckling white as she navigated the winding roads out of Beverly Hills toward the rundown neighborhoods of East LA. The engine hummed smoothly, a stark contrast to the chaos in her mind, regret churning like acid, mixed with desperate resolve. Find her. Fix this before it explodes, she thought, glancing at the crumpled envelope on the passenger seat, its contents searing her memory. The photo, the letters. They proved Rosa wasn't just a maid. She was a ghost from the past, holding Elena's buried secret like a loaded gun. Elena's foot pressed harder on the gas, the speedometer climbing. I can't let her ruin everything. Apologize? Bribe? Whatever it takes. The GPS beeped, directing her into a street lined with cracked sidewalks and faded apartment buildings, graffiti splashing the walls like accusations. Elena's nose wrinkled at the unfamiliar smells wafting through the cracked window. Street food vendors, exhaust fumes. This is where she lives, pathetic. She parked haphazardly, engine idling, her designer coat feeling out of place as locals eyed the luxury car. Stepping out, heels clicking on uneven pavement, she clutched her purse tightly, heart pounding. What if she's not here? What if she refuses? Doubt flickered, but she pushed it down, striding to the address she'd pried from the housekeeper, a peeling door marked 4B. Knocking sharply, Elena smoothed her hair, practicing words in her head. I'm sorry, come back. Name your price. The door creaked open, revealing Rosa's daughter, a young woman in her 20s with a weary expression, and a cane leaning nearby. Signs of illness Elena vaguely recalled from staff gossip. "Can I help you?" the daughter asked, eyes narrowing at the stranger. Elena straightened, voice clipped. "I'm here for Rosa Martinez. Tell her Elena Vargas wants to speak." The daughter's brow furrowed, suspicion hardening her features. "She's not here, and after what you did? Leave." Elena's temper flared inwardly, insolent like her mother, but she forced a smile. "Please, it's important. Family business." The daughter hesitated, then sighed. "She's at the community center down the block, teaching class, but don't bother her." Elena nodded curtly, turning on her heel without thanks, mind racing. Teaching? Of course, her old life. She drove the short distance, parking outside a modest building with a sign, East LA Community Center, free language classes. Inside, voices murmured in Spanish, laughter punctuating lessons. Elena peered through the door window, spotting Rosa at the front, chalk in hand, writing verbs on a blackboard. A dozen students, mostly immigrants, young and old, leaned in attentively. Rosa's bruise had darkened to purple, a visible mark, but her posture radiated authority, voice warm and commanding. Elena's stomach nodded. "She looks at home. Stronger than in my house." She pushed the door open, the creak drawing eyes. Rosa paused mid-sentence, her chalk halting, expression shifting from surprise to guarded steel. "Señora Vargas, what are you doing here?" the students whispered, sensing tension. Elena stepped in, chin high but voice lower. "We need to talk. Privately." Rosa set the chalk down deliberately, wiping her hands. "She's followed me," Rosa thought, pulse quickening. "Scared now? Good." "Class, take a 5-minute break," Rosa said calmly, ushering them out. Alone, Elena approached, words tumbling. "Rosa, I know it's you. I'm from Mexico City. The photo, the letters, I found them." Her hands gestured erratically, rings flashing. "Beg if you must," she urged herself. Rosa crossed her arms, bruising throbbing faintly. "So you remember now? After the slap? The firing?" Elena winced visibly, rubbing her forehead. "That was a mistake. Heat of the moment. Marco's inconsolable without you. Come back. I'll pay double, triple." Rosa's eyes narrowed, mind whirling. "She thinks money fixes everything, but I hold the power now." "It's not about money, Elena. You tried to erase Marco's inheritance because of his mother's color. And your secret. The child you hid. I kept it for decades, out of old friendship. But you struck me like I was nothing." Elena's face paled, stepping closer, voice pleading. "Please, don't expose it. The family would shatter. Javier doesn't know." Tears welled unbidden. She blinked them back, hating the vulnerability. "On my knees if needed," she thought desperately. Rosa turned away slightly, gazing at the blackboard, her lesson half written. She drove here herself, desperate. Use it. "Why should I help? You chased me out without my things, humiliated me." Elena reached out, then pulled back. "I'm sorry, truly. Come back. For Marco, set your terms." Her voice cracked, the mighty matriarch reduced to bargaining in a dingy room. The students filtered back, murmuring. Rosa nodded slowly. "Not here, not now. Leave your number. I'll think." Elena scribbled it hastily, relief mixing with shame. She's considering it. Good. As she left, heels echoing, Elena glanced back. Rosa resuming class, voice steady. I need her silence, at any cost. Driving away, Elena's hands shook on the wheel. That bruise. I did that. Regret deepened, the journey just beginning. Rosa watched her go from the window, resolving, firming. She came to me. Now I have decided. Back home, Elena paced her study, envelope in hand. She'll call. She has to. But uncertainty gnawed, the power shift palpable. Marco's laughter was absent. The house echoed empty. Hurry, Rosa, before I lose everything. Rosa finished class, students thanking her. Alone, she touched her bruise. She begged, but forgiveness, earned, not given. She pocketed the number, plans forming. The redemption road stretched ahead, fraught with revelations. Rosa wiped the blackboard with a steady hand. Chalk dust lingering in the air like faint memories. her bruise throbbing dully under the fluorescent lights of the community center. The class had ended minutes ago, students filing out with nods and gracias, Senora Martinez, their notebooks tucked under arms, immigrants hungry for language, for a foothold in this unforgiving city. Rosa gathered her materials slowly, mind drifting to the confrontation with Elena. She came begging, she thought, folding a worksheet. But I'm not her servant anymore. Her daughter waited at home, meds to administer, dinner to make, small acts of love that grounded her amid the storm. Outside, the sun dipped low, casting long shadows on the cracked parking lot. Rosa locked the classroom door, slinging her bag over her shoulder, the weight familiar yet heavier today. Teaching here keeps me sane, she reflected, stepping into the warm evening bustle. Kids kicking a soccer ball nearby, vendors calling out tamales. She waved to a student lingering by his car. Practice those conjugations, Miguel. You'll get it. He grinned. Thanks to you, teacher. The word teacher hit her like a bomb. It was her old title, stripped away by bias, now reclaimed in this humble space. Walking home, Rosa's steps were measured, her uniform swapped for jeans and a simple blouse, the mansion's starchiness left behind. Neighbors greeted her. Hola, Rosa! A community web she'd woven through years of quiet help, translating letters, tutoring kids, sharing meals. They see me, she thought, contrasting it to Elena's blind disdain. At her apartment building, paint peeling like old skin, she climbed the stairs, key turning in the lock with a click. Inside, the space was cozy, cluttered with books and medical supplies. Her daughter's oxygen tank humming softly in the corner. Mom? Her daughter Sophia looked up from the couch, book in lap, her face lighting with concern at the bruise. How was class? Rosa set her bag down, forcing a smile. Good. They learned ser versus estar today. She moved to the kitchen, pulling ingredients for arroz con pollo, rice sizzling in the pan, onions chopping under her knife. Sophia wheeled closer, her chair creaking. That woman from earlier, the rich one, what did she want? Rosa stirred the pot, steam rising. To apologize. Beg me back. Sophia's eyes widened. And? Rosa paused, knife hovering. Forgive. Too easy. I told her I'd think. But not for her. For the boy. Marco. She plated the food, handing Sophia a bowl, sitting beside her. They ate in companionable silence. Forks clinking, the TV murmuring news in the background. Sophia chewed thoughtfully. You're too kind, Mom. After she hit you? Rosa touched her cheek lightly, the swelling tender. Kindness isn't weakness, it's strategy. Elena thinks she controls everything, Rosa mused inwardly. But I hold her past. Use it wisely. After dinner, Rosa helped Sophia with her evening routine. Meds swallowed, breathing exercises done with patient encouragement. Inhale deep, hold, exhale. Sophia managed a weak laugh. You're the best nurse too. Rosa tucked her in, kissing her forehead. This is why I endured the mansion, she thought. For her care, her future. Alone in the living room, Rosa sat at the small desk, pulling out Elena's number. She dialed a friend instead, a former colleague, now a lawyer pro bono for immigrants. Luis, it's Rosa. Need advice on a will dispute and old secrets. The call lasted an hour. Notes scribbled furiously. Legal angles on discrimination. How to leverage the hidden child for leverage without malice. You've got grounds, Luis said, but be careful. Rich folks fight dirty. Rosa hung up, staring at the phone. Fight dirty? I've cleaned their dirt for years. She texted the housekeeper next. How's Marco? A reply came quickly. Crying for you. Mrs. V is a mess. Pacing all night. Rosa's lips curved slightly. Good. Let her stew. Moonlight filtered through thin curtains as Rosa prepared for bed, washing her face, the mirror reflecting her bruise like a badge. From teacher to maid to this avenger? She chuckled softly, slipping under covers. Dreams came fragmented. Mexico City classrooms. Young Elena confiding tears. The slap's sting. She woke once, checking on Sophia, then back to sleep, resolving deepening. Tomorrow I will decide. On my terms. Meanwhile, miles away, Elena tossed in silk sheets, the envelope mocking from her nightstand. She's out there, helping others while my house falls apart. Jealousy pricked unexpectedly. Rosa's quiet strength, her purpose beyond wealth. Elena sat up, dialing her investigator again. Dig deeper on Rosa Martinez. Everything. The voice replied sleepily. On it, ma'am. She hung up, staring at the ceiling. Bring her back, before the secrets spill. Rosa rose early, brewing coffee, planning her day. Another class, a doctor's appointment for Sophia. She volunteered at the center's food pantry mid-morning, stacking cans, chatting with families. Need help with forms? She offered one mother, translating English bureaucracy into Spanish lifelines. The woman hugged her. You're a lifesaver. Rosa smiled. This is real work, not serving tea to tyrants. Afternoon brought a call from Luis. Got prelims. Will the changes scream bias? File a tip anonymously? Rosa nodded to herself. Maybe, but first make her sweat. She texted Elena. Meet tomorrow. Neutral ground. We talk terms. Sent. Power surged through her. She's chasing. I'm leading. Elena's phone buzzed. She grabbed it eagerly. Finally, relief washed over, but wariness lingered. What terms? She replied, where? When? The journey twisted onward, redemption a fragile thread. Rosa ended her day reading to Sophia, voice soothing like the stories she told Marco. I'll go back, she decided, but changed. Stronger. The phone stayed silent now, but tomorrow loomed, full of reckoning. Elena stood outside Rosa's apartment door in the dim hallway, the fluorescent light buzzing overhead like an accusation, her designer coat draped over her arm despite the muggy air. She'd driven back to East LA at dawn, after a sleepless night replaying the letters, the photo, the bruise she'd inflicted. No more chasing shadows, she thought, knocking firmly, heart hammering. The door opened to Sophia again, the daughter's eyes hardening instantly. You again? I said she's not here. Elena swallowed pride, voice softening. Please tell me where. It's urgent, for a child. Sophia hesitated, then sighed. The park nearby. She's walking, clearing her head. Elena nodded thanks, turning quickly, her heels echoing as she descended the stairs, humiliating, begging directions from her spawn. But desperation propelled her. Marco's cries had rung through the mansion all night, Javier's accusations fresh. Fix this, mother. The park was a patch of green amid concrete, benches worn, kids playing on rusty swings. Elena spotted Rosa sitting on a bench, gazing at pigeons pecking crumbs, her posture relaxed but alert. There, Elena thought, approaching slowly, shedding her coat to seem less imposing. Rosa looked up, expression neutral, the bruise now a mottled purple shadow on her cheek. Senora, persistent, aren't you? Elena stopped a few feet away, hands clasped to hide their tremble. Kneel if you must, her mind urged, and she did. Lowering to one knee on the gritty path, gravel biting through her slacks. Gasps from nearby walkers, but Elena ignored them, eyes locking on Rosa's. Rosa, I'm sorry, I was wrong, blinded by prejudice, fear, the slap, the firing, unforgivable. Rosa's brow arched slightly, arms crossed, mind racing. On her knees, the mighty Elena Vargas, groveling in public? She didn't interrupt, letting the silence stretch, pigeons cooing mockingly. Elena's voice cracked, tears welling despite her fight. Marco needs you. He's broken without your stories, your care. Please come back. For him. Her hands reached out pleadingly, rings dulled in the morning light. Say it all, she pushed herself. I admit it. The will, cutting him out because of his mother's blood. It was hatred, not protection. My own secrets twisted me. That child I hid. You kept quiet all these years. I was a fool to forget our friendship. Passers-by slowed, whispering, phones subtly raised, scandal brewing in snapshots. Rosa glanced at them, then back, her voice even. Stand up, Elena. You're making a scene. Elena rose shakily, dusting her knees, face flushed with shame. Exposed, vulnerable, like she felt yesterday. Rosa stood too, facing her squarely. An apology in the dirt? Fine. But words are cheap. You struck me, humiliated me before your family, fired me without my belongings. Why should I return? Elena's throat tightened, mind flashing to the empty nursery, Marco's tear-streaked face. Because I need you. The house is chaotic. Javier questions everything now. And my secret, if you speak, she trailed off, pleading with her eyes. Rosa's expression softened fractionally for Marco's sake, but steel remained. She fears exposure, Rosa thought. Good. Leverage. I'll consider it, Rosa said finally, but on conditions. I don't return as a maid, scrubbing your floors invisible. I come as a family advisor, overseeing the will, ensuring Marco's fair share. No more hidden clauses. Elena's eyes widened, a protest rising, but she bit it back, nodding jerkily. Agreed. Rewrite it publicly. Fair for all. Rosa continued, voice firm. And you join a support group against bias, racism. Face your demons, Elena. Therapy sessions with the family. No more ruling by fear. Elena's fists clenched at her sides, pride warring with necessity. Conditions? From her? But visions of scandal, headlines about the hidden child, the slap forced compliance. Yeah, I'll do it. For peace. Rosa studied her, seeing the crack in the facade, the tremble in Elena's lip, the averted gaze. Broken, finally, Rosa thought, a mix of pity and triumph stirring. One more. Apologize to Marco. Explain why you were wrong. Teach him equality. Elena exhaled shakily. I will, please. Come today? Rosa paused, weighing it. For the boy, and to change them from inside. Tomorrow, bring my things, untouched, and the revised draft will. Elena nodded eagerly, relief flooding her features, tears spilling now. Thank you. I don't deserve this. She stepped forward impulsively, hugging Rosa stiffly, awkward, genuine. Rosa patted her back once, then pulled away. No, you don't. But Marco does. Elena wiped her eyes, composing herself. I'll send a car. Rosa shook her head. I'll drive myself. Independent now. As Elena walked away, shoulders straighter but humbled, she glanced back, Rosa resuming her bench, calm as ever. Power shifted, Elena acknowledged inwardly, a strange respect budding. She's stronger than I ever was. In her car, Elena called Javier. She's coming back. Prepare the family. Her voice steadied, but the kneel lingered, a turning point etched in gravel. Rosa watched her go, sitting again, pigeons scattering. I set the terms, she thought, a quiet smile forming. No more silence. She texted Sophia. Heading home soon. Big changes. The park buzzed around her, but inside victory thrummed. Latin Gokteen, one condition at a time. Tomorrow loomed, confrontation evolving into alliance. Elena drove home, mind abuzz with plans. Group sign-ups, will revisions. Humiliating but necessary. The mansion awaited, its dynamics forever altered. Rosa rose finally, walking home, head high. Advisor now, equal. The shift solidified, power balanced on forgiveness earned. Elena Vargas stood at the podium in the grand ballroom of the Beverly Hills Community Center, her hands gripping the edges tightly, the microphone amplifying her steady breath as spotlights bore down. The room buzzed with attendees, local leaders, media, family members, including Javier and Marco, all seated in rows of folding chairs that contrasted the opulent chandeliers she'd insisted on renting. This is it, Elena thought, glancing at Rosa beside her, now in a tailored suit instead of a uniform. Her bruise faded to a faint shadow. Weeks had passed since the park kneel. Conditions met, the will rewritten publicly, therapy sessions attended grudgingly, Elena's secrets aired in controlled family talks. Now this, the launch of the Vargas Equity Fund, dedicated to supporting children of color facing discrimination, with millions pledged. Elena cleared her throat, voice projecting clear. Today I stand before you not as the head of a fortune, but as a woman who has learned humility the hard way. She paused, eyes scanning the crowd, landing on Marco clapping excitedly from Javier's lap. For too long, I let prejudice blind me, cutting out family, silencing voices. But one voice refused to stay quiet. She turned to Rosa, gesturing her forward. Rosa Martinez, my advisor and friend, showed me the error of my ways. This fund is her vision. Scholarships, legal aid, community programs for kids like my grandson. Applause rippled. Elena stepped back, a genuine smile cracking her composed facade. She's leading now, Elena admitted inwardly, a mix of resentment and relief stirring. Rosa took the mic, posture confident, voice warm and resonant. Thank you, Elena. This isn't about charity, it's about justice. For every child dismissed because of skin, heritage, or circumstance. She outlined the fund. Mentorships led by former educators like herself, anti-bias workshops in schools, grants for families like hers and Sophia's. The crowd nodded, phones recording. A reporter jotted notes furiously. Rosa's mind flashed to her apartment, Sophia watching via livestream. Proud. From fired maid to this, she thought, power reclaimed. Elena joined the clapping, her hands stinging slightly, echo of the slap now transformed. After the speeches, the family gathered in a side room for photos, flashes popping. Marco tugged Rosa's hand. Story time later? She knelt, hugging him tight. Always, mijo. Javier shook her hand. You've changed us. Thank you. Elena watched, a lump in her throat. My empire shared now. She pulled Rosa aside. The fund's board. You'll chair it. Full control. Rosa nodded. With your support and sessions? Elena sighed. Yes, I'm learning. Evening brought the symbolic dinner at the mansion. The long table set with candles flickering, plates of arroz con pollo, Rosa's recipe prepared together. Elena at the head, but conversation flowed equally. Javier discussing fund investments, Marco giggling over drawings, Rosa sharing teaching anecdotes from the center. Elena raised her glass midway. To new beginnings, Clinks echoed. Marco climbed into Rosa's lap, hugging her fiercely. Your family now. Rosa's eyes misted. Yes, she thought, earned, not given. Elena watched, heart softening. Listening to her, it works. Post-dinner, Elena and Rosa walked the garden, stars overhead. The group therapy, it's helping, Elena admitted, voice low. Facing my biases, the hidden child, painful, but freeing. Rosa nodded. Strength comes from vulnerability, like you are kneeling in the park. Elena chuckled ruefully. Humiliating, necessary. They paused by a bench. Elena sat first, gesturing to Rosa beside her. The fund's first grant, to your daughter's treatment center. Rosa's breath caught. Thank you. Elena met her eyes. No, thank you, for not destroying me. The night wound down, family dispersing with hugs, Marco clinging to Rosa longest. Elena retired to her study, pulling the old envelope, now filed away. Lessons learned, she reflected, a weight lifted. Power isn't control, it's sharing. She emailed the therapist. Schedule extra session, ready to dig deeper. Rosa drove home, the mansion shrinking in her rear view. Sophia greeted her with a hug. Saw the launch online. Proud of you. They sat, sharing tea. It's just starting, Rosa said. Changing one family, then more. Sophia smiled. You did. Months blurred. Fund events packed, workshops thriving, Elena speaking at bias seminars, her story raw and redemptive. Rosa led board meetings, her voice commanding, bruises long gone but resolved eternal. The media dubbed it the Vargas turnaround, clips viral, Elena's kneel, Rosa's speeches. One evening, back at the mansion for dinner, the family laughed over Marco's school project on equality. Elena listened, truly. No interruptions. As Rosa left, Elena walked her out. Strength lies in listening to overlooked voices, Elena said softly, echoing Rosa's words. Rosa nodded. And acting on them. They embraced briefly, old friends rebuilt. The fund grew, touching lives, scholarships awarded, laws influenced. Elena transformed, volunteered at the center, teaching basic Spanish, awkward at first, then genuine. Rosa watched, smiling. Legacy mended. Marco, years later, would remember the maid who became advisor, the grandmother who changed. But for now, the table united, voices equal, the rebuilding complete, the moral rippling outward. Listen or lose. And just like that, a single voice shattered years of silence and prejudice, proving that true strength lies in speaking truth to power and embracing redemption through listening and change. If this story resonated with you, share your thoughts or a similar experience in the comments below. I'd love to hear how you've stood up against injustice or witnessed a powerful turnaround. Thank you so much for watching. Hit that like button if you enjoyed it. Subscribe for more inspiring tales, and I'll see you in the next video.